All right, so what did you choose? If you're like most people, I think you chose this image to say that it does not represent a rail transport. Although they have chosen to given it a name Trans Metro, but of course that seems to be a little misleading here. Right? So what's so different about this picture, or what makes this mode of transport different from a rail transport? Some of you might already be familiar with the idea of a BRT system, a bus rapid transit system, and this is one of those, right? And while it shares many features with a modern metro system, maybe there is one key way in which it is different. So let's just try and understand that. So, is this different in terms of power? Because this is being run by diesel, whereas most modern trains are run on electric power. Well, not all trains are run on electric power. We still have diesel cars, we have other means of powering trains as well. So power isn't the differentiating factor really. Now what else is it? Is it signaling? Is it that trains have a very complicated method of signaling compared to buses, which just simply use our signals on the road? Well, that's not also true, because if the train was running in a relatively low capacity area, it would need really very simple signaling systems, the kinds of which we used to have 100 200 years back for almost every kind of rail. So signaling is not the real differentiator. Then is it the capacity? Is it that trains are able to move a lot more people than buses are? Well, that's also not true. You can have really large buses, you can have really small trains, and everything in between. Capacity is also not a differentiator. Is it the track then? Is it that you always have a very dedicated track for railway based transport, but you don't have a dedicated track for a bus? Well, it is a dedicated track for the bus when it's going in the form of a BRT. It might have its own dedicated lanes where other vehicles cannot enter. Similarly, a ropeway or a trolley also has a dedicated track, but that doesn't make it a rail. So track is also not a differentiating factor. Is it that stops, that the train always stops at predetermined points, unlike a vehicle which you can stop and start from anywhere? That's also not true, because again buses have designated stops, right? So then is it the coaches? Is it that there are many number of coaches connected to each other in a train, which is not true, for example, for any flight that at least I have seen? Well, that's correct, but for buses, you can right now see on the screen that this is actually a very long bus. It's actually multiple connected coaches all running together. So even that is not a differentiating factor. What really does make railways so different from any other mode of transport? The answer is in the word itself. It's the rail. There is a set of, sometimes even one, guiding rails that basically define the track of a rail transport. And be it a metro or be it a monorail, be it your conventional rails, anything that's basically running on a rail is rail transport. So we are going to focus only on understanding rail transport, and that means that it would be running with some certain guides, and without the help of those guides, the vehicle or the means of transport will basically just not be able to move at all. So how is this rail system different from each other? While they do share common characteristics, that every rail transport basically runs on rails, they are widely different from each other. And you already in your experience know some of those formats, which we also looked at in some of the previous slides. So what we are going to do now is look at those images one by one and want to make some comments on them. What makes this particular shown in the picture mode of rail transport different from another one? Right? How is the one that you sort of use for, say, for example, intercity travel different from a metro, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to spoil this exercise for you by giving you too many ideas, but what I want you to do is now look at those pictures and describe what are the key features of that rail-based travel system that makes it probably different or unique from any other railway system. So complete that exercise and then I'll see you next.